China sold Iran what it called a world-class air defense weapon, the HQ-9B surface-to-air missile system, designed to rival America's Patriot and Russia's S-300. But when U.S. and Israeli forces launched their offensive, this supposedly cutting-edge technology didn't just underperform, it completely collapsed. And this wasn't the first time. We're looking at a pattern that could reshape global arms sales and expose serious vulnerabilities in Chinese military technology. For decades, China has been positioning itself as a major player in the global arms market. The HQ-9 long-range surface-to-air missile system has been one of Beijing's flagship exports, a weapon that China has aggressively marketed as being on par with the world's best air defense platforms. Development on the HQ-9 began back in the 1970s, with full-scale production ramping up in the late 1980s. Since then, multiple variants have entered service: the original HQ-9, a naval version called the HHQ-9, the improved HQ-9A that debuted in 2001, and the HQ-9B, which boasts extended range and upgraded technology. Countries around the world have purchased these systems: Pakistan, Egypt, Azerbaijan, and most recently, Iran. And it's not hard to see why. Chinese officials have made bold claims about the HQ-9's capabilities: a range of up to 160 miles, the ability to track 100 targets simultaneously while engaging 6 to 8 at once, missiles traveling faster than Mach 4, and phased array radar technology that promises 360-degree coverage. On paper, it sounds formidable. In practice, the story is very different. After the 12-day war in 2024, when Israel and the United States launched surprise strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, killing military leaders, scientists, and political figures, Tehran knew it needed to upgrade its air defenses fast. Iran negotiated what insiders called an oil-for-arms deal with China, acquiring what one Iranian official described as a significant number of HQ-9 systems. These weren't deployed in isolation. Iran built a multi-layered air defense network incorporating domestically developed platforms like the Bavar 373 and Khordad 15, Russian systems including the Pantsir S-1 and S-300, and mobile defense units capable of rapid repositioning. This network was designed to protect Iran's most critical assets: the Supreme Leader's compound in Tehran, nuclear facilities, military bases, and key airfields. The HQ-9 was supposed to be a cornerstone of this strategy, a high-tech guardian capable of detecting threats from over 150 miles away and eliminating them with precision. But when U.S. and Israeli forces launched their attack on February 28, 2026, the reality was starkly different. Israeli F-15 fighter jets struck first, launching precision-guided Sparrow missiles at key targets. Within hours, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed at his compound. The Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Iranian Minister of Defense, and several of Khamenei's closest advisors were all eliminated in rapid succession. Meanwhile, American bombers and fighters penetrated Iranian airspace with apparent impunity, striking hundreds of targets across more than 20 of Iran's 31 provinces. Military bases, infrastructure, radar installations, and air defense systems themselves were systematically destroyed, reduced to wreckage and rubble in a matter of hours. And the HQ-9? It was nowhere to be seen, not because it wasn't there, but because it had been rendered completely useless. The HQ-9's catastrophic failure in Iran came down to one critical vulnerability: its inability to withstand electronic warfare. According to multiple reports, the United States deployed Boeing EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft specifically to jam Iranian radars and air defense systems. These Growlers create electromagnetic interference that can blind radar systems, disrupt communications, and create safe corridors for strike aircraft to operate without fear of being targeted. Modern air defense systems are typically designed with electronic warfare countermeasures built in, ways to filter out jamming signals, switch frequencies, or maintain functionality even under intense electromagnetic attack. The HQ-9, however, appears to have been woefully unprepared for this type of invisible assault. Under intense jamming from the Growlers, the HQ-9's communications failed. The systems couldn't integrate seamlessly with their command centers, effectively becoming both blind and mute. The phased array radars, which were supposed to track 100 targets simultaneously, struggled to lock onto even one. False targets filled their screens while real threats, F-35 stealth fighters and Tomahawk cruise missiles, slipped through undetected. Blinded, paralyzed, and unable to accurately identify targets, the HQ-9 systems became little more than extremely expensive paperweights. Instead of defending Iranian airspace, they became easy targets themselves, picked off at will by American and Israeli forces. This wasn't just a tactical failure, it was a strategic humiliation for both Iran and China. Here's the thing, Iran wasn't the HQ-9's first high-profile failure, it was the second. In May 2025, Pakistan deployed HQ-9 systems to defend critical infrastructure and military bases in cities like Karachi and Lahore against India's Operation Sindoor offensive. Pakistani commanders were counting on the Chinese systems to provide robust protection against Indian missile attacks. Once again, the HQ-9 failed to deliver. India employed Israeli electronic warfare technologies to jam Pakistani radars and communications, rendering the HQ-9 systems effectively useless. India followed up with a combination of kamikaze drone swarms and BrahMos supersonic cruise missile strikes, causing widespread devastation across multiple Pakistani regions. If China's claims about the HQ-9 were accurate, none of this should have been possible. The system should have detected incoming threats from far beyond the horizon and launched high-speed interceptors to neutralize them. Instead, its screens filled with static, its radars went dark, and its missiles never left their launchers. After the Pakistan incident, defenders of Chinese military technology could argue it was operator error or unfamiliar deployment conditions. But now, with the Iran failure, that excuse doesn't hold water. The HQ-9 has failed twice, in two different theaters, against two different adversaries. That's not bad luck, that's a fundamental design flaw. The repeated failures of the HQ-9 expose a much larger problem for China, the gap between marketing claims and battlefield reality. The world's most effective air defense systems, Israel's Iron Dome, America's Patriot, have been proven in combat again and again. The Iron Dome has protected Israeli cities through countless rocket attacks. The Patriot system demonstrated its effectiveness during the Persian Gulf War in the early 1990s, the Iraq invasion in the 2000s, and more recently in Ukraine, where it's helped defend against Russian missile strikes. These systems have been refined through real-world combat experience. Operators have accumulated vast amounts of performance data, allowing continuous improvements and adaptations. They've evolved to become smarter, faster, and more resilient. The HQ-9, by contrast, entered the global market with virtually no real combat experience beyond controlled testing in places like China's Taklamakan Desert. Testing against slow-moving drones on pre-programmed flight paths is not the same as defending against a sophisticated, multi-domain attack featuring stealth aircraft, advanced cruise missiles, electronic warfare, and cyber operations, all happening simultaneously. When exposed to the heat of actual combat, the HQ-9 was found severely wanting. This should be deeply concerning for the dozens of countries that have invested in Chinese military hardware. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, China accounts for roughly 6% of global arms exports. Countries across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas have purchased Chinese weapon systems. Pakistan alone accounts for 63% of Chinese arms exports between 2020 and 2024. Nations like Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Algeria have also acquired substantial quantities of Chinese drones, tanks, aircraft, armored vehicles, and missiles. For many of these countries, which don't have the massive defense budgets of the United States, United Kingdom, France, or Germany, Chinese equipment is attractive primarily because of its lower cost. But as they watch the HQ-9 fail spectacularly in two major conflicts, buyers may be reconsidering whether cheaper actually means better value. Many nations are likely realizing right now just how flawed and unreliable these systems truly are. That realization could trigger a significant shift in the global arms market, with countries looking toward European or other alternatives rather than continuing to invest in Chinese platforms. Beyond the immediate tactical and commercial implications, the HQ-9 failures represent a strategic credibility crisis for China. For years, Beijing has invested heavily in military modernization, showcasing its latest weapons at grand parades and defense exhibitions. The message has been clear: China is a rising military superpower with technology that rivals or exceeds that of the West. But there's no point in flaunting weapon systems if they prove utterly useless in real combat. High-profile failures like the HQ-9 don't bolster China's reputation as a defense leader. They fracture it. Suddenly, the Chinese military doesn't seem as formidable or technologically advanced as Beijing has tried to portray. Instead, fundamental weaknesses are being exposed: haphazard assembly, low-quality electronic components, plagiarized designs, and systems that look impressive on paper but fail when it matters most. Modern warfare demands more than just raw firepower. It requires seamless system integration, sophisticated software, advanced sensor fusion, and robust electronic warfare countermeasures. Chinese systems, despite their impressive specifications, appear to be falling short in these critical areas. This mirrors problems we've seen with Russian military hardware in Ukraine, weapons that look powerful in promotional videos but struggle under the demands of high-intensity, technologically sophisticated combat. It doesn't matter how fast your missile can fly if it can't evade enemy countermeasures. It doesn't matter how many targets your radar can theoretically track if it can be blinded by electronic warfare within minutes. The HQ-9's failures will have long-lasting consequences that extend far beyond a few destroyed missile batteries. First, China's credibility as an arms exporter has taken a major hit. For years to come, potential buyers will look at the HQ-9's performance in Iran and Pakistan and think twice before investing in Chinese air defense systems. Beijing's propaganda machine will have a harder time selling outlandish claims about its latest innovations. Second, within China's own military establishment, even if they won't admit it publicly, commanders are likely reassessing whether their systems are truly as capable as claimed. That reassessment will make future military operations, such as a potential invasion of Taiwan, look far more risky and uncertain. The myth of Chinese military technological dominance has been shattered, and in contrast, the Iran conflict has underscored just how advanced and effective American military technology truly is, from electronic warfare capabilities to precision strike platforms to space-based intelligence and targeting systems. The collapse of China's HQ-9 air defense system in Iran, and before that in Pakistan, is more than just a tactical embarrassment. It's a strategic inflection point that exposes the gap between Chinese military marketing and battlefield reality. For countries that have invested in Chinese weapon systems, these failures serve as a wake-up call. For China itself, it's a moment of reckoning, a clear signal that producing weapons that look impressive in parades is not the same as building systems that can survive and succeed in modern combat. As the global arms market watches and evaluates, one thing has become undeniable. When push comes to shove, China's world-class air defense technology simply doesn't measure up. And in warfare, where lives and national security hang in the balance, that's a